Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode of Hardball Sports Talk. My name is Brandon. Joining me, like always, is my good friend Alex. Alex, how are you today?
Hi, Brendan. I'm doing excellent because this is my favorite weekend, favorite four
Uh,
day, I should say, with the
yeah.
March Madness going on.
How's your bracket looking?
We don't need to talk about that.
That's, I actually had a really good start, and I don't think I'm in terrible shape either right now. I think I'm in okay shape on my bracket.
You're
Uh,
in first right now, and I want to know what your
yeah.
secrets are.
Okay.
So
So
spill them.
no. Okay. So if you're like either in first or last place in your group right now for your brackets, don't get too excited and don't get too down on yourself. Unless if you're in last place and you had teams lose that you expect to go deep in this thing, because this round right now is worth what, like 10 points, I think, for ESPN anyways. I think it's 10 points.
Yeah, I think so.
The next round, if you get them right, is 20 points. So if you're in first place right now, whoop doo doo daddy, like you can lose a lot of points still. So I'm not getting too excited about that. Now, picking the Duquesne upset over BYU, that was pretty cool.
I had that one too. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people did.
I just I always pick a couple 5 or 6 11s and 5 12s, and I just hope I get the right ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might, I don't know if I did in this bracket, but I know on one of my brackets I picked a couple or at least one 15 too. I
Yeah.
don't think any of those have happened so far.
No, I think you might have one more chance. I think.
Yeah.
I think there's another 15-2 tonight.
But in our group for Hardball Sports, the last I looked, outside of me, the person at the top of the list outside of me and Alex was Ike. So Ike, if you're listening to this right now, as of right now, you are in first place technically because we can't win. So we're gonna do something nice for whoever the winner is. We'll get you guys a small gift card for something, or we'll send you some hardball merch, hardball sports merch. We'll figure out something for you guys. But thank you guys so much for participating in it. We're hoping that for this to grow for next year, and we can get more than next year. But we appreciate the small support we do have for this. Hopefully, this grows here in the near future, though. One thing that's going to help it grow is all these collaborations we have going on right now. We're working with something with Rounders here. Uh, not entirely sure when that's going to come out or when we're going to record, to be honest with you. We're having some scheduling issues right now. But we'll get that out for you guys as soon as possible. Still working on a couple actors, and we're pretty excited about the possibility of talking to them. We're not entirely sure if and when that's going to happen, but we're crossing our fingers. But one thing that we really were excited about, and we still are, is this movie series. And we've gotten so far our 11 through 50 movies. So tonight we're going to do our honorable mentions for movies that we considered putting in our top 50, but either they're just not good movies or we liked different movies more. They didn't make our
Or
top 50.
I forgot about them till after I ranked everything, and therefore I can't go back and re-rank them like someone did.
So yeah, because when I did my original rankings, I forgot Remember the Titans, which I have in my top 10 because that's not happening tonight. But you mentioned that when because I sent you the movie list of all the
Mhm.
sports movies, and you sent me it, and you're like, "Hey, where's Remember the Titans?" I'm like, "Oh crap!" Like, yeah. So yeah, sorry about that. But like, I
That's
think I
okay.
told you, I'm like, "Hey, I probably missed some. So if I missed some, let me know." And
Yeah.
so it's
Honestly, I
on
think that
both
was
of us. I think that's
pretty
the
much
main
the
one.
only big one that you missed.
Yeah, I mean, I probably missed a couple here and there, but so what I did for this was I basically Googled sports movies, and that Google search did absolutely nothing. So then I Googled baseball movies, and then I wrote down all the baseball movies that were I felt were relevant. So like there was one called A Mile in His Shoes, which is a pure flicks type movie. I'm like, okay, well, that's not gonna be nobody's top 50 movies, so we're gonna leave that one on not on the list. But other movies, then we do basketball movies, and basketball was tough because it was basically just Space Jam and Hoosiers off the top of my, oh, I guess semi pro. But there wasn't a whole lot for basketball. But basically, it was football and baseball was a lot of them sports genre movies, and I think our lists reflect that too. Both of our lists reflect a lot of baseball and football, but because that's what they keep making movies of was baseball and football. So, but tonight we're just gonna basically go over a few movies that didn't make our list. I have, I believe, 13 on mine, but we're not gonna go into too much detail on any of these. I just added a couple earlier today when I told you I had 11. I actually added 2 today. So,
Hmm.
these are in no particular order whatsoever. These are just the list I came up with as I thought of movies. So the first one we're going to mention tonight is For Love of the Game, which is a baseball movie starring Kevin Costner, because that's apparently his favorite sports genre to do is baseball. He does have a football movie called Draft Day. I didn't mention that one, but that's another sports movie. It's really corny though. But anyways, For Love of the Game, it's been a minute since I've seen it, but basically it's a rom-com where he's a pitcher for the Tigers on his way out, and he throws a perfect game against the New York Yankees. There's actually a connection to that movie from Little Big League to For Love of the Game, and the Yankees star hitter, I can't remember the player's name, but the star hitter that he had a huge rivalry with his whole career was actually played by Michael Papajohn, who played Tucker Kane in Little Big League. So
Nice. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so there's a connection there to Little Big League, which is obviously right now one of our favorite movies with having John on the show and hopefully a couple more. Uh, that movie I did not see it on any streaming services. You can obviously rent it on Amazon or Vudu or whatever streaming service you use. But I just basically try to find one for you guys that if you subscribe to it, you can watch it, and it's not on anything. So we'll let Alex go now with his first honorable mention movie.
Kind of like you said, don't really have these in the ranked in any order. But I actually also did have For the Love of the Game. Um, in my honorable mentions, mostly because it's been forever since I've seen it. And if I remember right, I think Kevin Costner shot this one in either Bull Durham or Field of Dreams back to back.
This
I
one was
can't remember.
later 90s, I thought.
Was it? Okay.
I
Maybe I'm
think this
thinking
one was
of,
like 95, 96. Let me look it up real quick. But
yeah, I know there's one point he shot two baseball movies back to back and he almost passed on one of these.
that
I
was
can't
that
remember.
was that was Field of Dreams. He almost passed on Field of Dreams because it was right
Okay.
after Bull Durham.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of then. So
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So I also do have For the Love of the Game. Mostly because I haven't seen it forever and it's still a good movie, but it wasn't in my rankings. So
Yeah. I'm gonna send you something in the private chat here. Just let me know if you have any of these movies on yours.
yeah,
And
we
then
probably
that
should
way
have
we
done this
can just
before we started
yeah.
recording, but
I
this
didn't
is
think well, because we haven't done it the rest of the time because we were ranking movies. So
this is
so
more
just send me a
fun
message
doing this
back.
live.
Yeah. So just send me a message back if you have any of those.
I'll have to
I'm
read them.
assuming you
So
have.
why don't you?
All right.
Uh,
The next one
yeah,
I
I have a
have,
couple of them. So
okay, just shoot in the message which ones you have, and then we'll go back and
Mhm.
forth. So actually, I do have Draft Day in my honorable mention. I'll talk about that one next since I did bring it up already. Draft Day, basically, Kevin Costner plays the GM of the Cleveland Browns, and it's Draft Day. He has the number 8 overall pick, I think it was either 6 or 8, and he basically trades up for 1 to get the star quarterback. Turns out, after doing some research, he doesn't like the quarterback, so he trades back or he takes the player he would have taken at 8 at the first pick, and then does a bunch of wheeling and dealing, and everyone thinks the Cleveland Browns are going to win the Super Bowl because of all of this. It's kind of a corny movie. It is kind of interesting though, just to be how much the NFL actually was involved in this movie. Because like they had actually the whole draft night setup going on. Goodell was made a cameo in this movie. They had all the logos, which you can't really use most of that stuff or any of that stuff without the NFL's permission. So the fact that the NFL even somewhat endorsed this movie is kind of crazy to think about, especially with how not great it was. I enjoyed it, but like it's not a good movie overall, and the sports in it's not very real. some of the trades made in this movie are like head scratching. Like if any GM made that trade, the owner would probably be walking down to his office and say, "Pack up, you're out." Like, what are we doing? But I mean, it's a fun movie. So that's and it's on Apple TV. If anybody out there has that services, uh, yeah, I guess watch it. But I don't know anybody who has Apple TV since Ted Lasso ended. That was basically the only show holding that one up. Which, by the way, if you've never seen Ted Lasso, you should watch it. It's a great show.
Yeah, I
But we're
agree.
not talking. You know, I'm actually gonna throw that in the honorable mentions. I don't care if that's a TV show. Go watch Ted Lasso. It's basically an American football coach taking over a European soccer team, and it's just as ridiculous as it sounds. You should go watch it. It's a funny show.
Yeah. I'm not one for watching soccer, but this is the only soccer that I
Well, it's the
would
only
watch.
soccer anybody watches in
Yeah, that's
America.
true. Yeah, that's
Anyway, so
basically
you
true.
so do how about you do one that we don't share together, and then we'll do all the ones we share together last.
Okay, that works. One another honorable mention. Uh, it was actually on your list, and it's basically your life story, and that's Fever Pitch with Jimmy Fallon. If you guys don't remember, basically this guy's dating this girl, and it's baseball season, and he like freaks out as a diehard Red Sox fan, and she's like, "What did I get myself into?" So basically, it's just Brandon's life right now. Um, but yeah, that's one of my other honorable mentions.
Yep.
Another one I had too. I think you had it on your ranking, and I didn't have mine. Was The Rookie with Dennis Quaid. Um, basically, another baseball movie, like you said. A lot of these are baseball movies and football movies.
Well, like I said, I like when I made the list because I what I did was I made a Word document basically with all the movies on it, and it was heavy based on football because that's a majority of what all these movies are is either a football movie or a baseball movie. The next movie I'm going to bring up here, I believe you had in your list, is Longest Yard. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it since you had it on there. But basically, it's got I'm going with the Adam Sandler version because that's the one I grew up with. But Burt Reynolds also has his own version. Basically, Adam Sandler plays a hotshot quarterback who gets in trouble with the law and gets arrested. And then in the prison, they start a football team to play the guards. It's a funny movie. Uh, Also, another connection to Little Big League. Papa John's also in this one too. So he plays one of the guards. But that movie is available to watch on Paramount Plus if you have that subscription. I suggest you check this movie out. It's funny. I again, there's too many movies to on the list. So when you're doing a top 50, you would think that's enough because we actually talked about doing a top 25 or a top 20, and then we looked at the movies. And we're like, we need to do 50. And so yeah, some movies got left off, but a lot more movies were gonna get left off if we stuck to 25. So that's why we did 50. So now you go with your next one.
My next one, I have. I think you had it on your list. I don't quite remember. Bull Durham with
Yep.
Kevin Costner. I know we kind of mentioned that earlier. Basically the minor leagues and going through the whole spiel of being a catcher in that one. So, yeah, Bull Durham was honorable mention for me.
Next one I have, I believe you also had this one on your list. Invincible with Mark Wahlberg, where he uh, basically tries out for the Philadelphia Eagles and makes a team as a special teamer. Really cool story, really inspiring. I don't. It was one of those movies that came out in the mid 2000s, and I watched it a couple times, but I just never had the connection to it like other people did, which there's nothing wrong with it. But if you are interested in that movie, it is available to watch on Disney Plus. The next movie I'll talk about real quick. This one I kind of actually. So my wife and I watched Men in Black before we recorded. We're recording here tonight, and so we're in this. It's in the scene towards the beginning of the movie with Will Smith in the morgue talking to that lady. And I go, fun fact: Will Smith actually played a movie where he actually did something similar like this. And she goes, "What movie is that?" I go, "It's called Concussion." Basically, the premise of it is the whole CTE thing in the NFL. It's based on a true story of the doctor Bennett Omalu, who was basically blacklisted by the NFL. It's a really sombering movie. I've watched it a couple times. It's really heavy. It's not a feel good movie. You're not gonna like if you're a feel good type person, you won't like this movie. It's very heavy, but it is a story that needs to be told because the NFL did a lot of shady things to hide how dangerous the game is, and like I like the big hits just as much as the next guy, but at some point you gotta have some kind of player safety in mind, and the NFL basically buried a lot of things and was very shady with a lot of ways they did things. So that is an honorable mention movie, and it's not available on any streaming services.
Sorry, I was looking something up.
No, you're good.
I'm glad you had that. Yeah. Fun. I actually have not seen that movie, so I'm gonna have to go and watch that movie. But yeah, the NFL is a little shady and covering some of that stuff up. The next honorable mention movie I have is Like Mike. Um,
Yes.
got Little Bow Wow, Morris Chestnut. Yeah. Eugene Levy's in it too. Basically it's this kid who is in the orphanage, um, very big into basketball. They're trying to get tickets to, I can't remember what game it was.
Was it the
Um,
Knights?
yeah, I think they were a parody of a team, but yeah, it's the Los
Probably
Angeles
like
Knights
the
basically.
probably like Lakers or the Clippers.
Yeah, I would have to go Clippers based on if you're doing a parody. Anyways, uh, so yeah, he's trying to get tickets to the game. Ends up going to this thrift store and finds a pair of basketball shoes that have the initials MJ on it, Michael Jordan. Kids steal it, kind of throw them on the power lines like they do back in the day. Tries to retrieve them, gets shocked, and then all of a sudden he has MJ's powers and can basically kind of like Space Jam. He's like a monster, steals the talent and plays. It's a pretty good comedy movie. If you like a little comedy and basketball mixed in. But yeah, I
It's
recommend go watching it.
it's kind of, I guess, like Rookie of the Year too, to an extent, where some freak accident happens and the kid
Yeah,
gets the talent.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
I'd spend a minute since I've seen that one. I think I have it around here too. Might have to watch that tomorrow. The next one I have, I also believe you had this one on your top 50, and that's Gridiron Gang. So I won't spend a whole lot of time with it, but basically, The Rock plays a, I think he's like a warden or something like that at detention camp for youth, and says the system's broken. We got to figure out something because these kids are going right back in the streets. So he figures, let's start a football team for them. It's loosely based on a true story. I'm not entirely sure how much of it is actually true, but I know uh, it's loosely based on a true story. So it's a really interesting movie, though. Interesting premise. It's not available on any streaming, but if you have the chance to watch it, I suggest you watch that one. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's good movie. I think some of the characters is based on them
So
loosely.
I know
Because
the
at
Rock's
the
characters
end,
base. Yeah, they have like a
yeah, at
little
the end of the
clip.
movie, they kind of roll the clip of the players and part of the team playing and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely a good movie.
yeah. Do you have how many more do you have? We should ask that one
Uh,
before we start too.
yeah, well, I have. Uh, we're doing this live, so forgive us.
Yep.
Not not including the ones we have the same of. I have four more.
Okay. You do a couple then, because I only have two left besides the ones that we have together.
Okay. Uh, so this next one is a pretty good one. Uh, brings me back to my childhood. It's a Disney original movie, and it's Johnny Tsunami. Um,
Yes.
it was hard not to put this on the list, but I don't know how many people have actually watched it. But it's a great movie. Basically, It's this surfer kid living in Hawaii with his mom and dad, and his grandpa's this legendary surfer. All he wants to do is surf. Then his dad takes his job on the East Coast, I think Vermont maybe. So he's dealing with snow. Uh, Goes to a preppy school. Tries to become a skier, fails miserably. Sees these guys that are the crosstown rivals of this preppy school, and they're snowboarders, and that's a big no-no. But he's better at snowboarding. He fits in better with those people. And then there's a big race at the end to determine who gets his grandpa's medal. And then I remember that towards the end of the movie, ending of
Oh,
it,
it's
he
been
wins the
probably 20 years since I've seen it.
yeah, he wins the race, and then oh, I remember now. The mountain was divided for skiers on one side with the better snow and all that, and the snowboarders that go to the other side. Two different brothers are also owners of shops, and that's how they kind of divided the hill. So the race kind of ends, and Johnny winning the medal, and the brothers like, "All right, this is stupid. Let's just have everyone have fun on this mountain." It's a pretty good movie, so I would recommend it. I know that one's on Disney Channel or Disney Plus, because obviously it's a Disney Plus movie or original movie. Another Disney original movie. I know I have a few of these. Well, I actually only have two. Well, there's actually a couple more, but they're in my ranking. Is this rollerblading movie called Brink? Yeah, you can laugh at that, Brandon. That's fine. You know you like this movie too. Don't get me wrong. You got something to say? Please say something.
Oh, so when I was putting together this list of movies, there was a couple decom movies. I'm like, I actually enjoyed that movie as a kid, but like nobody's ever gonna take us seriously if we put decoms on here. So I purposely did not put decoms on my movie list that I sent you.
Oh,
So
that's
to keep
fine.
yeah. And you still squeaked them in there. That's awesome.
That's right. Hey, they're honorable mentions, all right? They're not in the rankings, so we're good. Uh, Anyways, I'm just gonna say go watch this movie. It's a rollerblading movie. It's pretty good. Definitely corny. Um, but yeah, it's a good movie. So go watch it now. Do it
Oh, that is amazing.
because we're soul
So
skaters, Brandon.
that we are. So the next one of mine, it's very stupid, which is a theme of our movies. If you haven't noticed that by now, and it's called Basketball, and it's basically these two guys. They create their own sport between basketball and baseball because basically suck at every sport, and they're like, "Hey, well, let's just create our own." And so we do that, and they become world famous basketball athletes. It's really stupid, really funny. It's straight up our alley. It is available to watch on Prime, but I will say this right now: this movie is one of those teenage boy movies where there's just a kind of like Master Disguise and Austin Powers movies like that. So if you're not a fan of those type of movies, you will not like this one at all. I will leave it at that. And then I actually had three that you don't have. So the next one is Blades of Glory, which I believe you had on your top 50. Uh, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but basically Will Ferrell and John Heater as male figure skaters as partners. It doesn't get any weirder than that. And again, it's one of those stupid movies. So, but if you are interested in that kind of movie, it is available on Amazon Prime. So go ahead and watch it if you like stupid comedies, because that's what those two movies are, is stupid comedies. So you go ahead and now share your next one.
My next one can be controversial, because some people claim, like me, that it's not a sport, but if you talk to them, it is a sport.
Don't get
You
us
know
in
where I'm going with
trouble
this,
with
Brandon?
yes, you can get us in trouble with cheerleaders.
I'm just glad you already know what the movie is based on that. And
It's
yes, it
Bring
is
It
in my
On.
honor. Yeah, it is in Bring It On. It's in my honorable mentions. All right. You cannot tell me you've never seen that movie growing up.
It's been probably 15, 20 years since I've seen it.
Yeah, don't lie.
And
You know you watched it recently.
I have not watched it recently.
Okay, Brandon. Whatever you gotta say.
Anyways, why do
Yeah.
you Yeah.
Um,
Why do you have
there's
Bring It On? Tell the
because
world.
it's a classic cheerleader movie. It's the most popular cheerleader movie. All right.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here for a second because I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it's been a minute since I've seen it, but I remember it being a popular movie back in the day.
Hmm.
So like, I'm not gonna deny that it's not a good movie or anything like that. But if you're starting it off with, I don't consider this a sport, and are ranking as sports movies,
I said some people don't consider it a sports, but they do. So it's considered
uh,
a sports movie, I guess.
you guess. All right, so we got Bring It On going on here. My next
Yeah.
one, I have so spoiler alert here. This movie is part of a trilogy. I have the first two movies in the trilogy in my top 10 because those two movies are top 10 sports movies. And I will, if you want to fight me on that, come find me because they're great movies. This one, however, uh, fell short for that franchise. And that is, of course, Mighty Ducks 3. Basically, the kids from Mighty Ducks, they go to a preppy high school and they are now the JV team and they fight for whatever reason with the varsity team. I'm not entirely, you watch this movie and then you think like the varsity kids and the JV kids at every school hate each other. Now I went to a school where there was like 15 of us in high school, so we didn't have JV or varsity. We had one team. So maybe you have more intel on that. But was there that tension between JV and varsity at your school?
Excuse
You
me.
were just
No, it was mostly seniors and freshmen, but not really
yeah.
this intense. I forgot I did have this movie as well in my honorable
I
mentions. I don't know why I
I
didn't put it
fig
in the chat.
I figured you did, but you didn't have it written down. So I'm like, well, maybe he's got in his top 10. And I'm dishing a
Yeah.
movie that he absolutely
No,
loves.
we're just starting off the similar movies here, so
Yeah. But D3, the best moments in this movie though is Averman with the coach. Uh, he's just yeah, he's just a suck up to the coach, and then when Charlie quits the team and then comes back and goes, "I want to play two-way hockey," it's just a great time. Actually, I was thinking of doing a movie intro for this episode, but I didn't really think of any classic scenes, and I thought about doing something from this movie because we
well, I
quote
bet it
this
starts with
movie.
a W.
Yeah, I thought about that one, or when Charlie goes on the bus and whines, and then Russ is like imitating him. That's a great scene too. So, I mean, it's one of those movies that's part of our childhood, but the first and the second one, I like watching as an adult now. The third one, I'll watch it, but it just doesn't connect
You're
like the
forgetting
first two
about
did.
one of the greatest returns in hockey, and Dean Portman coming late in the third or before the third period.
And then the Paul Carrillo cameo too is pretty great too.
Yeah.
But so do you have any more movies that we don't have together?
No, I think that was. I think we've did that. I think the rest of them we all are on our list.
Okay, so uh, the first one that we both share is Trouble with the Curve. So, I actually had this one on my list because it's been a minute since I've watched it, and I'm like, I remember liking that movie 5-10 years ago. Then I watched it, and I go, that movie does not belong on anybody's top 50 list, unless if it's top 50 worst sports movies ever made. But
You
some
really do
people
not
like
like
it.
this movie.
I mean, it's like, no, the baseball on it was bad. Like, that's how
Okay.
I judge. Yeah, it was just,
If you don't
and
like this,
then
why is it honorable mention then? If you don't mind me asking.
because I mean, it's like that. You know how there's like just some movies are just bad, you like them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like
Okay.
I
No,
still
that's
enjoy watching
understandable.
this movie
Yeah.
because then I can sit there and be like, they should have had somebody with somewhat baseball knowledge on the set, and we would have been good. But no, I mean, it's not a terrible movie. Like, it's not like the worst movie ever made. But actually, I know some people in the baseball world who consider this the worst baseball movie ever made. So
That's saying
that's
something.
saying something because there's some stinkers out there.
Yeah.
But there is one scene in this movie I really like that some people don't, and that's when Justin Timberlake basically rolls up to the little kids, the little like play wiffle ball game or whatever, and starts broadcasting it. It's just so funny and awkward that he's this grown guy is just basically doing play by play for a game, and then
Yes.
getting that into it. I
Yeah.
crack up every time I see that scene. So
That
you
is
go ahead and what you like about Trouble with the Curve.
I do like how the oh shoot, I already blanked on the main what's his name? Who's the old
Clint
guy in it?
Eastwood. Clint
Yeah,
Eastwood's
Clint
the
Eastwood.
actor.
Yeah, that's who I was trying to think of. I like that he's basically blind in this whole movie, but he can hear everything, which is pretty funny, if you
Which
think about it.
yeah, because you can't hear a curveball. That's
No.
another thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's some good parts in the movie. I love Peanut Boy coming in at the end there and throwing the fastball every time, even when they say it's a curve. But like Brandon quoted, that's a fastball. So
It was actually 2, and so the one pitch, so when she's catching him towards the end of the
mhm.
movie, when she's catching Peanut Boy, and she goes, "Show me the curve." I swear that ball had a slider break to it.
I'd have to watch it again, but I can't believe I'm saying this, but I trust your judgment on that.
Don't do
That's
that.
hard to say.
Yeah. We're gonna skip the next one on our list right there because we're gonna save that one for last because that one belongs on the top 50. I just couldn't do it. I
It
wanted
was
to so bad.
very hard not to put in my top 10. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah. So the next one we're gonna talk about then is Major League 2, which I actually like Major League 2. It was the first Major League movie I ever saw because my parents wouldn't let me watch the first one, because I was too young to watch it. So they let me watch Major League 2 though because there's a lot less stuff in that one. So I grew up watching Major League 2 and Major League Back to the Minors. Major League Back to the Minors, crappy movie. I still love it though, but it's so bad I couldn't even throw
Yes.
in my honorable mention.
Yeah.
But Major League 2, decent enough movie. It's no Major League though, and but basically, Wild Thing is not Wild anymore. I think they actually changed actors for Willie Mays Hayes.
I
I
think
think
you're
it's a
right.
different guy.
Yeah.
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 But I mean, it's still a good movie and still fun and stuff like that. It keeps the charm of the first one. So,
Mhm.
but
I just I just
yeah,
realized in the private chat I'd put the same movie twice.
yeah, I
So
just noticed that too.
I don't know how I did that. Probably because I was looking at everything and trying to
Yeah,
listen and talk at the same time, which does not work out very well for me.
nope.
So,
Do you have anything to add for Major League Two?
I just like that Charlie Sheen, pretty much sold out, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'm done selling out, and give me the Wild Thing back." And then they play the music, and she goes, "I really hate that song."
You know what
I think she said,
confuses me about this movie though
"Yeah,
is so at the beginning, actually, these guys are in the whole entire movie, but like in the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, you're introduced to these 3 fans who like they're diehard Cleveland fans. Where were they in the first movie? Those guys were nowhere. Like you would think those guys would have a huge part in the first movie with how big of a part they have in the second movie. And so, like when the first time I watched the first movie, because again, I watched this one first because of how young I
mhm,
was. But I watched the first one. I go, those guys aren't in the movie. What the heck? Like that's just weird that they basically created fans that didn't exist.
right."
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Now,
But
yeah, now that you said that, yeah, yeah, it just light bulb came on. Like, yeah, you're right about that.
yeah, yeah, they just showed up. This next one I've actually only seen once. I remember liking it, but I don't remember a whole lot about it. So I will let you take over for this one.
The very last one, well, not the
Yeah,
last one.
Air.
Air movie. Yeah. I did have a problem with it because I don't know how I describe it. Um, they didn't have him in the movie. Not him, not Michael Jordan himself. Basically, this is about how Michael Jordan got the um shoe brand with Nike. Uh, and his mom was a great agent, and who would have thought that she would have done what she did? Um, Basically, Matt Damon, ends up being a shoemaker. He's like, all right, he has a feeling, this guy's gonna have major money making stuff for us. Let's just sign him to a shoe deal, and no one believes him at first, and then obviously rest is history. Uh, but yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I remember liking it. I only watched it the one time though. And I don't remember a whole lot about it,
Yeah,
but I
I
remember
same
liking
here.
it.
Yeah, I'm basically trying to remember what I saw in the trailer and then the bits I saw in the actual movie. So
Yeah. And then finally, the movie that we both wanted to put in our top 50, apparently he wanted to put in his top 10. So I honestly, before the whole Remember the Titans fiasco happened, because I forgot to put Remember the Titans in the movie list, I had this movie at 50. So this is movie number 51 for me.
really,
Because I wanted it so bad in the top 50 just because I wanted people to know about this movie because
you
it's
don't you have all right, hang on. You would have this
what?
at 51,
Yeah, because I had it at 50 and that when Remember the Titans got put in, then it got knocked
yeah,
down. So this was technically 51.
but
This
you
is
would have
the
it that low as you had it as 50. You
Yes,
wouldn't
I had it at
move it up any
50.
farther.
I wanted to, but I just couldn't.
Are you kidding me?
It's a great movie. I'm not denying it.
It sounds like you're denying it right now. Come on.
But anyways, the movie that we're fighting about right now, like an old married couple, you can tell we've known each other for at least 15, 20 years now. We argue all the time.
Disappointed in you, Brandon.
Uh, you should be used to it by now. Anyways, it is
That's
called
true.
Extreme Days. And it's a independent movie from the early 2000s. It is basically about a group of friends who go on a road trip, and they just do a bunch of extreme sports like snowboarding, skateboarding, motocross, and it's got a good story with it. It's a really good movie. Uh, not every time we get together, but it's actually available to watch on YouTube. If you just go on YouTube and type in Extreme Days, there's a channel on there. You can watch it for free on there. And I actually think the channel is owned by somebody that's involved with the movie. So it's like not even pirated on there. It's actually they have permission to have that movie on there. So that's pretty cool that it's not gonna get taken down even. But yeah, it's a fun movie. And I enjoy it. I would want to put it higher at 50, but I just was trying to keep my list a little bit respectable, and so I probably like it more than some of them. But like once you got to the top 10 though, I'm like, we're not doing keeping respectable anymore. We're doing my top 10 favorite movies. So my top basically anything from 11 to 51 is trying to
Your
keep it somewhat
respectable sports movies.
my respectable sports movies, or like for example, when we talked about The Natural, I don't really like The Natural, but I also understood that if I'm gonna be taken seriously for making a sports movie list, I have to have The Natural somewhere on that list. So I think I put out like 29 or something like that just to
No,
keep
that's
the
fair.
peace a little bit. So that is why Extreme Days did not make it, because there were some movies that even though I probably like Extreme Days more than, I
Mhm.
had to have on a top sports movies list for people to take us a little bit serious.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we both have Mighty Ducks 2 in our top 10, and most people would not have Mighty
No.
Ducks 10 2 in the top 10 sports movies. So
Yeah, exactly.
at some point, I had to make it a respectable list to an extent.
Okay, that
So
makes me
that
that's understandable.
that
I take
that
back giving you a hard time about putting it at 50 and then 51 and all that. But I will say I have to thank you for showing me this movie because I had never seen it before. And I remember the night you asked me, he's like, dude, have you ever seen this movie? I'm like, what? No, what's that movie about? And then you went to your room, basically dug it out of your closet or whatever, brought it down and watch it. I laughed hard at parts. And ever since then, if we ever have time, we usually end up watching it.
Yep, it's a great movie, and it's one of those movies where there's no sex in it, there's no language, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol. There's a joke fighting scene, but like you're laughing during the fighting scene.
It's like the fake fighting
Yeah,
sound effects and everything too. So
yeah.
it's not like yeah.
So like if you have a 6-year-old kid, like you can watch this movie with your 6-year-old kid and you'll both be entertained. Like it's a clean movie. Really good. So go on YouTube, type in Extreme Days. You know what? I'll actually post it on the Facebook page. I'll post a link to it on the Facebook page so you guys can go check it out. It's a funny movie though. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for checking out today's episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. I am sorry for ruining Alex's day by not having Extreme Days higher up on my list. But you didn't have it in your top 50 either, so I don't want to hear it. You're yelling at me for having a 51, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're having
Yeah.
it that low.
Hey, no, I'm
not-
allowed to criticize you, all right? You can't criticize me.
No, of course not. But thank you guys so much. We'll talk more baseball next week, probably. I think we might have to take a week off of the movie series because baseball starts next week, and we have a lot to get through before baseball starts. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for checking us out. And if you don't listen to us before then, I really hope you guys have a great opening day of baseball, and go Tigers.